You see, the beautiful truth is you've already got everything you need inside. You don't have to get it. You don't have to follow the pattern that our formal educational institutions teach us. You don't have to read all the books. That's not necessary. I think Madame Montessori put it very well. She said we tend to send a child to school as if they're an empty cup and we expect them to fill the cup. The truth is the cup's already full. School is to help draw out what's already there. You see, you and I are God's highest form of creation. There's nothing on the planet that will even come close to us. Strange thing, you and I are the only creature on the planet that is totally disoriented in our environment. All those other little creatures, they're completely at home in their environment. They blend in. We don't. We're totally disoriented. And that is because we have the ability, you and I do, of creating our own environment. Now think of what that means. That means that you and I can literally create the life we want. As I said, when I first heard that, I did not believe it. But I knew the man that was giving me the advice believed it. And that man was Raymond Douglas Stanford, one of my very first mentors. And as he said to me, he said, "Bob, your way's not working. Why don't you try mine?" Now, to help you understand where I was, I'd been asked to leave school. They didn't want me there after 2 months in high school. And I can understand why they didn't want me. I was a poor student. I didn't want to pay attention. I had never had a half-decent job in my life. I was earning $4,000 a year, but I owed $6,000. The prospect of even getting out of debt wasn't there. He said, "Bob, that's all reasons why you can't do what you want to do. We're not going to spend any time on that. We're going to focus on how you can." This idea has been proved by people much smarter than us. And the beautiful truth is, it works for everyone. Not just some people, for everyone. And I think this thing is stuck in my mind. He said, "Your way's not working. Why don't you try mine?" Now spend a moment right now and ask yourself, what would you really like to do? What do you really want? The truth is your spiritual DNA is perfect. We hear a lot of talk about DNA today. Well, if you get past all the nonsense that's been programmed into our subconscious mind from genetics and in our environment, and get right down to the core of who you really are, your spiritual DNA is perfect. And it's that perfection that's seeking expression with and through us. That's why we want things. It doesn't matter what we're doing, we want more. Now, as a little boy, I was taught by my grandmother, who pretty well raised me, that you should be satisfied with what you've got. Grandma was a dear woman. She was like an angel of God, but she was wrong. We should never be satisfied with what we got. We should be happy with what we've got, but never satisfied. You see, dissatisfaction is a creative state for our mind to move into. It causes us to want to do more. We should ask ourselves where those wants come from. Do you know it's that perfection within that keeps jabbing you in the consciousness? Want this, want that. If you're running, you want to run faster. If you're jumping, you want to jump higher. If you're selling, you want to sell more. If you're singing, you want to sing a better tune. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. You want to do it better. And the beautiful part of this is you can. You see, I have practiced all 30 rules for losing. I know them well. None of them work. They'll never give us what we want. But I have spent many, many years on the 13 principles of success that have helped millions of people earn millions of dollars. And you see, the one criteria is it doesn't matter where you're at right now. If you are very successful, you can become more successful because you have infinite potential. No one can even guess at what you and I are capable of doing. If you've been failing miserably up till now, that doesn't matter. Let the dead bury the dead. We let the past go. And we just focus on who we are, where we are, and what we're going to do. These 13 principles all come together like a beautiful mosaic. Now, although I will explain each one, I don't think you can talk about one without the other. We're getting into ideas like desire, decision, the sixth sense, organized planning. All these ideas are so important, and when you first look at it, it may seem overwhelming. How would I ever be able to do this? It isn't even difficult. We're going to give you a path, and you get on that path, you're going to have an absolutely phenomenal future. The future will be beautiful. Oh, you'll have some problems. We all do. I still have, and I've been working at this for all my adult life. But you know something? Our perception of the problem is different because we see the opportunity in it. If we didn't have any problems, we would be living a pretty dull life. We wouldn't be living at all. We'd be existing. So as we go along here, really focus. Don't treat this as some self-help program. It goes so much deeper than that. It's so much more important. There's been so many hours by brilliant people that have used this information, that have tested it for many, many years. You have the opportunity now to put all this to work. And as you put it to work like that, you'll start to see changes happen. You give yourself a window of time, maybe 6 months, a year, 2 years. You're going to look, your perception of your life will shift so dramatically. You'll think you were reading about somebody else's life when you look back. I often say you're going to need a telescope to look back and see where you started. Now that may sound like but it's really not. Remember I said I was $4,000 in debt? Or I earned $4,000 and I owed $6,000. I've earned millions of dollars. Now I don't say that to impress you, but to impress upon you, if a guy like myself can do it, anybody can do it. It's pretty well known today there's a lot of fear in the world. People are wondering what's going to happen. We've gone through many tough times if you study history. I was born during the Great Depression. So I was of an age then, I remember some of the things as a little kid. Then we went into a world war. And when the Depression ended, it was sort of like a theater where the lights were out. It was empty, but the lights started to come up. And things started to get brighter. And of course, they became very bright. So the fear, don't let fear control you. Fear is a negative emotion. By following these principles, you're going to be on the other side of fear, where there's faith. There's a law of the universe called polarity. That law decrees everything has an opposite. Every negative has a positive. The truth is, it's neither positive or negative. It's our thinking that makes it so. Everything just is. We can make it what we want. Make up your mind now. You're going to go in the positive polarity. You're going to stay with me because that's where I'm going. And there'll be a very bright future. Let the fear go. It isn't necessary. The cause of it is ignorance. The cause of all fear is ignorance. I'm going to give you understanding. It only comes through study. But it will brighten your life and it will improve your results. And I've had nothing but a strong desire to teach this now for years and years. At first, I didn't know what happened. I was studying this. I was winning, but I didn't know why. I had earned over $1 million in a year, and I had absolutely no idea how I had done it. Now, probably like yourself, I had been raised to believe if you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really smart. I knew I wasn't very smart, but I was earning a lot of money. I was raised to believe if you're going to get a good job, you've got a good formal education. I didn't have any. I had 2 months in a technical school in high school. I didn't have a good job. I owned the whole company. I had offices in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, London, England. And I looked at all this and I thought, how did this happen? And I didn't know. If you had asked me, I couldn't tell you. But you know what I have found? I have found most highly successful people cannot articulate on why they are. They will say, well, I do this or I do that. And they'll point to one of these 13 principles that they worked at and mastered. The truth is, they're probably using them all and just not aware of it. They're what you call, or I call, an unconscious competent. They're very competent, but they're not consciously aware of why. Now, the sad part of this is that they've got this wonderful way of life, but they can't even transfer it to their children, nor can they give it to their staff. So you find very successful businessmen and women in business or just in life, but they don't know why. Well, I got very curious. I wanted to know why. Why did a guy like me change? I thought, something's happened. What's happened? Well, I spent 9.5 years studying with some absolutely brilliant people. Now, I formed a good habit over that time. I picked good mentors, and that's very important. You can use these films as a mentor. You can. You can let me be your mentor. You know, I've often heard it said people that have been gone for a couple of thousand years can help you more than somebody that's alive today. And I get a lot of help from people that have been gone for a long time through their books and writings. So you could use this series as a mentor. But a habit I formed right from the first person that helped me, Ray Stanford, he said, do exactly what I tell you. And for some reason, I decided I would. I didn't question him, I just did it. He said, do it until you find out I'm lying or I don't know what I'm talking about. And he said, I don't lie, and I do know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to say that to you, and hopefully you'll grasp it the same as I did. Do what I suggest in these films until you find out I'm lying or I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't lie. And believe me, I do know what I'm talking about. Many years ago, they said, by their results, you'll know them, or by their fruits, you'll know them. Well, I'm 84. I've got as much energy as many people, 24 or 44. I've earned millions of dollars. I have wonderful friends all over the world. And this came to a guy that started with nothing. This does work for anyone. It truly does work for anyone. So dig into this and say, I'm going to give this a whirl until I find out he's lying or he doesn't know what he's talking about. You do that, and you're going to find these 13 principles will change your life like night and day. I searched every day, and every time I picked a new mentor, and I did pick new mentors, I did exactly what they said. It was difficult at first because what I was really doing was changing habit patterns. But they were teaching me things. They were teaching me information that the average person may never learn. I developed a very close rapport with them. And they were brilliant people, every one of them very accomplished. That is a good rule. If you want to do something, go to someone who has demonstrated by results they do know what they're talking about. Ask them, what should you do? Then do exactly what they tell you. Now, I know that works because I'm still doing it, and I do it every day. So I'm going to ask you to resurrect some of those dreams that you may have let fade. Bring them to the surface of your mind. Treat this as some magic formula if you want, and you'll find out it'll produce. I once read where a writer said, you know, when you really understand how the magicians perform their tricks, it isn't magic any longer. And that's true. I work conventions every now and then, and there's a magic act at the convention. They'll ask me to take part in some part of it. So to do that, I have to understand what they're doing. And I found out it's hard to believe. Wonder why the audience doesn't see this. When you understand the trick, it's not magic. But when you understand life, it's really magic. And that's what you're going to find. That's what you're going to find all wrapped up in this. It's absolutely incredible.